Today's sponsor of the Vision Quest podcast is 920 Hat Company. Leather patch hats are in, and 920 Hat Company is here to hook you up with your very own custom hat. All patches are lasered on top-grade genuine leather and on popular brand hats like Richardson and FlexFit. Whether you're looking to show off your business or want a one-of-a-kind hat for yourself, 920 Hat Company can do it all. All the hats are handcrafted right in the Fox Valley, but worn across America. With over 500 hats in stock, they guarantee fast turnaround times. Honestly, Liam, looking at these hats, solid, right?
Yeah, they're pretty. I like them.
I like that patch itself.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, one-of-a-kind stuff. I know his name's Trevor. He does great work. He's actually gotten I think we got a knit hat coming.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, we got that coming. So we're really excited to have these guys on board as a sponsor. So get down to check them out on Facebook. I believe they're on Instagram. Check them out, man. They got the best hats, I think, in the Fox Valley, if not in the state.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So get down to 920 Hat Company on social media and check them out. So don't mind while I get a little excited. I got a cool guy in the room. I got Coach Jeff Matczak. Kauakuna Ghosts. I appreciate you being here. Thank you.
It's great being here.
It's awesome. I appreciate it. So brought you on. Want to talk to you about just a couple things as far as season goes and see what your thoughts are and how things are going. So how 1 week in, right?
1 week.
1 full week?
1 full 5-day week.
How you feel things are going so far? You got good numbers. You guys got
real good.
Yeah.
Football unfortunately lost last week.
Yep.
In the state semifinals, so we got those kids back a week earlier than we thought we would.
Okay.
But they want to wrestle.
Yeah.
They don't want to take a break. They want to get on the mats and be with their guys.
Yeah.
They have their football guys. They're with their wrestling guys now, and our kids in our school really. We've got a great culture in our community and in our school, with everybody being one big family. So they're in the room, and it was a good week of practice. Just therapy. It was therapy. It was therapeutic.
Yeah, knocking dust off.
It was hitting. Everybody's that's been competing in the off season, and from the spring through the summer and the Super 32s, and they you have to go back and just hit some therapy. You have to go back, and it's like going to the chiropractor and getting your back adjusted.
Yeah.
Even though you feel okay, you need to go back and just get reset.
Yep.
With the fundamentals of wrestling. And this is what we want to be, and so it was good.
What do you first week? What do you focus on? I mean, do you try and get guys on cart? I mean, you can tell a guy's tired. I know your guys, so but you got to get on the treadmill. You got to get over here. I know what you got going on. No,
I mean, cardio is the biggest misconception in all of wrestling.
Yeah,
we don't do any cardio.
Okay,
cardio it's your responsibility. If you're out of shape, then you need to do something to get in shape. If you need to make weight, go ahead and run. We're strictly 100% based on wrestling skills and the mindset of being a wrestler. Yeah. And so we don't run. We'll sprint, but we're not going to put track shoes on and go run in the gym or, I'm not saying that never happens. Right. But last week we didn't run in 5 days. It was some sprints at the end for maybe 6 minutes. Yeah. And everything is, based on a time, and everything gets down. Everything is 6 minutes. It's doing something 6 minutes with breaks and
match. Yeah.
And same thing with lifting, farmer carries with multiple lifts with very heavy weight for 6 to 8 minutes. Okay. And that was our lift that one night. And we did. Nice. We did get a Tuesday morning lift in, which involved an Olympic bar and some Olympic lifts and those type of things. But try to get a lot of volume of things, and you have to identify what you're trying to accomplish each time you bring the kids in. And for the most part, the 5 practices after school are about wrestling skills and mindset. Yeah. And conditioning is just, you use December to get in shape, and then in January, hopefully you're in shape to go, 6 minutes hard, and then it's maintenance and recovery for February. So,
well, not only a good team, you have a pretty decent lineup of
coaching staff as well. I mean, you have, knowledge, not only just the program, but wrestling knowledge that has come through that room, obviously, and is in there currently. How is that a big benefit, especially when the first week comes around? Those guys help those guys focus too.
Yeah, it is. Our coaches, they're not a bunch of rah guys early on. They come into the room and get reacclimated to the room as well, because our high school coaching staff is not in the room in the off season with me. We have other people that come in and train, the clubs, and our kids go out to get trained in clubs. Yep. And, I provide the strength and conditioning, and I provide a mat in the summertime for them to get on and do things. So our coaches, they need that break from the sport. They all have families. They're all busy. They're tied into the kids in some ways directly related to wrestling, whether it's, Bob offering somebody a lawn cutting job for his landscaping service. Or, Jeremy fishing stories, and Steve and this and that. And but they get back into the room, and it's them evaluating what's going on. And then as we pick up toward the competition, they'll become more involved in seeing what happens. And they all have their guys, that they're going to work with based on size and or personalities. And so we have 3 months to hone that in, and they've all been here for 20, 25, 30 years. And
got history.
They, we don't do a lot of strategizing and things like that. It kind of takes its own way.
Sure.
Our biggest thing is making sure, as our coaching staff, it's getting everything done, all of the guidelines and, just everything. We're going to take our test on Tuesday night, and make sure you have your concussion video, make sure you took your CPR training.
Yep.
We all go to the clinic, make sure that you, your fob works for the building. We have our bus schedules lined up, like all of the mandates.
Yeah.
Of
crossing your T's, dotting your I's.
The ugly part of coaching.
Yeah.
The things we don't get into coaching to do.
Right.
And so that's the big thing these first, preseason and then this first week or so. And then we just once the first week of competition comes in, then it starts getting fun.
Yeah, totally. So first week competition, you bring that up. You got something called the Pulaski Invite coming up?
Well, no, it's a rotating scrimmage we've been doing for about 20 years with Wrightstown and Pulaski.
Gotcha.
And Reedsville is actually involved in that. So it's 4 schools.
Okay.
And everybody's got their hammers and decent numbers. And we've been doing it for a long time, and we just rotate between. Reedsville doesn't ever host. They don't have the ability to get 3 or 4 mats down in their field house, but we all it's going up to Pulaski this year. So
okay,
we run our scrimmage early and to get us ready for the big events, and it's just to break up the monotony of 2 weeks of practice with your teammates and getting practice with other people.
Right. There's that. You guys have a fairly decent schedule as far as tournaments lined up. Christmas, that's obviously in Minnesota. Now, being that I'm a newbie to a lot of these, we just didn't drive out to go watch high school wrestling out there. So unfortunately, I don't know about it, but there's some pretty decent teams there as far as, you got Simley, you got a couple other top high schools in the country that show up there.
Yeah, well, it's Minnesota's best, teams for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then, if they don't have a ranked team, they've got individuals.
Yeah.
There's so many good teams in Minnesota.
Yep.
Full lineups with, the junior high inclusion that really makes the lightweights really tough. And then it's not the lightweights that are just tough because of junior high inclusion. Those 160 pounders, that are sophomores and juniors, they were 120 pounders when they were in 7th grade. So all of their kids, it just runs all the way up. It has that up effect to all the lineups. So it really, we get to see kids out there for, our kids only see them out there 4 years. There's some kids I've seen out there for 6 years now from Minnesota. And it's like, God, that kid hasn't graduated yet. Jeez, we had a kid in 2018 wrestle that kid. How in 2023 is he still wrestling? And that's, and they're just tough as nails. So they don't have the lineup turnover that we have.
Sure.
And
Well, is that 7th and 8th grade being able to wrestle varsity? You know, that thing too. It's like, do you consider that an advantage?
Well, tremendous advantage.
Okay. I mean,
not an advantage, just a good thing.
Just for the athlete.
Yeah. If you're looking for an advantage, I mean, you got to make your own ways, but as far as the state, it's a tremendous opportunity. And in wrestling, you know, we're a weight class based sport. So sometimes you have to do that. And I know it's something I would never say never, but I'll say it anyway. Like Wisconsin will never go to something that drastically crazy because we are like a sloth. We move very slowly in the things that we do.
Truth.
You know, seating, and junior high inclusion and, you know, the 1.5%, which I don't like. I'm glad we move slow on that one, but we're slow on things. But we, you know, there's a reason for that too. You know, it's just,
things happen, decisions get made. And honestly, with whatever is being decided on, I mean, obviously you have to play it with demographics and what goes on where and who's got what. So there's a lot of decisions to be made on it. But so with the season coming up and things like that, what does your philosophy in the room change from year to year? I mean, does it change a decade to decade? I mean, you've been around for a while. You know what I'm saying?
Decade to decade, because you're young and then you're middle aged and then you're old. You know, that's kind of how it works. So not year to year at all.
No.
But, you know, I can tell you, you're going to put an emphasis on something that you just don't like about where the trends of wrestling are going. And, you know, this year, you know, there's something that I see that happens in wrestling that, you know, that bothers me. And it's this is something that has to be addressed. You have to shine a spotlight on it and then get it into your kid's head that this is a skill. This is an area that's not real good in the country right now. It's not good regionally. It's not good locally. Maybe it wasn't good for us last year. And then you're watching early season college wrestling and you're going and you're seeing it again. And you want to make sure that when your team is on the mat, that's something that is not as big of a problem for you. So that runs in cycles you know, over the years. So, but in terms of philosophy, you know, it's slow evolving. I would say, you know, from the first 10 years to the next 10 years to now this 10 years and now going on 32 years. You're starting now starting kind of a new thing and a new philosophy. Like I would have never said conditioning is, like I said earlier, conditioning is, you know, it's overrated. It's unnecessary. It's the last thing you want to develop for a kid. Because I can get somebody in shape in a week to wrestle, you know, or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Like it's quick, but I can't make you strong and I can't make you skilled
wrestling shape
overnight. That takes a long time. So those are the things you're addressing all off season and all during the season. Conditioning, you know, every time you go out and run a hard mile, your VO2 max improves, your red blood cell count improves. You know, everything is immediate and that can get changed very quickly. And we can address that. And of course, body types and muscle fiber composition and all that stuff is different for everybody and how they breathe. But to max you out, we can get you in shape for you pretty fast.
Right. Well, I mean, I think now with the knowledge that's out there as far as just conditioning, and it doesn't take complication, it doesn't take fancy equipment to get things done. I mean, I've read things where it's literally body weight. That's all it is. It's body weight, core work, stuff like that. Yeah. But now with the knowledge that we have as far as how, like you were describing, how the body works, how synapses is working within the body when you're working out. So we have so much more knowledge body wise. Has that been beneficial to the program as far as knowing what you know now as medical? And because eventually I'm going to have someone on the show that talks about nutrition and things like that too. I mean, have things changed and evolved in the room just as how medical has changed and things like that? As far as what you guys find out about the body itself?
You know, there's strength and then there's, you know, your wind, which is your conditioning.
Yep.
And then there's, you know, flexibility is another one that, you're either flexible or you're not when you're coming through.
Yep.
And then it's maximizing that out. And, but it's something we're always trying to develop. And because flexibility, like if you would have talked to me again, I would say now we're working more flexibility this work this week and, last week and in preseason more than we're working on conditioning. And I would have thought I was, 20 years ago, I would have said, flexibility, who cares? You know, like get in shape. And that's flipped totally because I see the value of when you're more flexible, you're stronger. And people would say, well, how is that? Usually power lifters are really tight in the shoulders, and this and that. And, they've got to be able to, take a heavy weight, a short distance off their chest and hit a squat here. But it's in wrestling, if you can put your body into, if you can bend your body, it's about bend. And if you can bend your body, if you think of a bow, compared to an iron rod, I want to be a bow. Like a bow and arrow bow. I want to be strong and I want to be able to bend and not break. Whereas if I could snap, I could snap or a metal, it cranks and it breaks it. I want that bend in my body because if I'm able to put myself in positions where my body is bent and still be strong, I'm going to be able to score points, be in positions, never have to break. Think about it this way. If I pick your leg up, I tell our kids like, hamstrings and we just really try to force to get as much out of that because if I grab your leg and I grab you by the ankle and I pick you up and I get it up to my waist or up, maybe halfway up to my shoulder and you fall down, well, you're weak, even though you can squat, 500 pounds and bench 400 pounds. But if I can pick your leg up this high and you fall down because of you're weak. But now if you bench, half of that, 200 pounds and squat, 250 and you're not as strong, but I can take that leg and I can pick it up over my head and you can stay up. You're strong.
Yeah.
You're really strong. Like you're strong for wrestling and you're able to maintain that position. So that's that functional strength. And those are some of the scientific things. You just look at it and you want to build that. Nutrition is a whole nother animal. I'm not I'm not here to control kids and tell them what to put in their body. And tell them it's really not my business. I'm teaching them how to win in wrestling and have a winning mindset in wrestling. So we're wrestling. But there's some, things, that are just real simple, like cut out the crap, cut out the soda, cut out the fast food. And
milk.
And go skip, if it's weight management, then, it's got to be skim 1%. And, you just look at the foods you're buying but it's fruits and vegetables and lean proteins.
Completely.
It's pretty simple, but
that's the question I guess that I would have with weight cutting and stuff, just because people don't have the knowledge, and that's the main reason of having like a nutritionist on and stuff like that, just to really break down exactly, because I think kids think that they have to just starve themselves, and that's the hardest part. And going through with Liam and stuff like that and going to these tournaments and watching teammates of ours, oh man, I cut 15 pounds in like, the 2 weeks or whatever. And the last 5 were really hard. I just cut the other 3 the other night. And you're like, wow, how are you going to compete at that? And certain guys have been built to do it and they've been doing it, but certain guys just can't do it. And I think they just don't know how to properly do it, as far as the implementation and the timing and things like that. So that's kind of,
it's different for everybody.
It is.
And let's look at it this way. We have 14 weight classes and, we're going to vote on eliminating 1 or 2 of them or keeping 14 next summer for the years to come nationwide.
I was just going to talk about that.
So you have got that, but let's just say we've got 14 weight classes and not everybody is going to be a perfect box and have the perfect weight class, where you walk around at, 12% body fat, you cut down to about 9 or 8% body fat and you're able to get down there relatively easy, 5, 6, 7 pounds. And just trim some fat off, and you get that from the coaches' practices and the morning workouts. And you can kind of enjoy yourself on Sunday, but you never feel like you're really killing yourself to make weight on Thursdays and Saturdays. So you're not going through this gorge on Sunday. It's just, you got to bring it down and you
ebb and flow.
Not all 14 kids can do that. Now we want to do some testing that says, well, this is the way it's going to be. But if it's a hard cut for you and you're in a program that needs a 120 pounder and you'd rather be 26, your team's either going to forfeit that and you're on a highly ranked team that has some accolades and goals, but you've tested for 20. But I really want to be 26. That's where I'm going to be comfortable.
Yeah.
But I qualified for 120 and that's going to put me at 7% and it's going to be tough and I don't have a lot of discipline. Now I've got to make a choice. Do I want to forfeit? We just gonna and I can't beat her 26-pounder. Like,
right.
That he was a state runner-up last year, and I was fourth at sectionals, and he worked really hard over the summer, and I did too. But he's just at another level. He's a year older, and that's not an option. So here we are, and what are you going to do? You're going to go to 120.
Yeah,
and that's what happens. So this is not like, and you might be the, fifth or sixth best wrestler on the team. Maybe not, the top three, but you're still a pretty good wrestler.
Yeah.
What do you think your coaches are going to do? They're going to say, hey, you really need to be in the lineup. You need to, you tested for it. You go down now. If we're a football team with 11 athletes and, you've got two good quarterbacks and they're the best athletes on the team. I'm putting one of them at wide receiver.
Yep.
And if there's an injury, they're going to still train and come and play quarterback. And that's how it goes down. Or we're going to put you on the other side of the ball. And same thing with basketball. Two kids want to be point guards and they're sharpshooters. One of you going to play the 2 guard. Yeah. And that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And in wrestling, we don't have that option. When it really comes down to the big tournaments and the postseason, you can find a way to get both those kids in the lineup, 26-32. You bump kids around. Maybe you find some tournaments where both of them can go 126 because they take extras. All those things are good, but you have to find a way to get all those kids in, and it's going to be uncomfortable for kids. It just is.
Yeah.
And so some kids can handle that. And then there's just one undeniable fact that we're not with the kids 24 hours a day, and they're going to do what they do. And some kids can handle that cut, and some kids, they don't handle it very well.
Sure.
And,
I see that.
We weigh our kids in every day.
Yep.
Every day. We don't catch them all before practice.
Sure.
But we record it after practice every day.
And
so,
at least you get the 24-hour variance if you're not getting
and we
anything.
like to know what they drop, what they lose in a practice, so that we kind of know after practice. If I know you, if I know kind of what somebody loses in a practice, only because we're not looking at what they lose in a practice, we're looking at what they were before practice.
Yep.
So if we have their weights after practice, we kind of know where they were before practice, and that's good enough. And so we have data, and they're coming in on Mondays, and this is what they are, and then their performance is bad on Thursday and Saturday with energy. So, hey, look at what you weighed on Monday.
Yeah.
This isn't working for you. And so now we've got to get involved on the weekend a little bit with them on a Sunday or after tournaments on Saturday and say, hey, let's try this. Just let's try it this way and see if we can keep our weight to a manageable level and see if we can get our performance to go up.
You guys, is there a season or I guess maybe just a duel that you want back? Is there something that you've ever, out of all your years of coaching, has there ever been a situation or a duel you're like, God, I'd like to have that one back?
Oh, sure. I mean, after all the years.
What, the one? What's the one that sticks out?
Probably 2013.
Recent, huh?
State finals with Wausau West. We won 4 in a row after that, but that could have been the first one instead of 2014 being the first one. And it was just, that was a duel where we wrestled really well against a really good Wausau West team and had an opportunity to win it going into the final match. And, strategically, and was so hyped up to come back in that duel and to get 106 for him to do that. And then 113, he did his job. Now we're 120, and we just probably, because we had never won before. So I think now we never were in that position. And it's always being cranked up and being intense and nuts. And we needed to calm down a little bit going into match 14 with our greatest wrestler in our history at that time was Robert Lee. Yeah. And putting him out on the mat and had him jacked up. And, he won the match, but there were things we needed to do. We needed a pin or we needed a tech or whatever it was to win the duel at that time. And we weren't able to get it. And that was on us a little bit. And how we kind of let, some blood time during that match. Okay. Really affect us a little bit. It was a crazy duel, crazy finish, but you know that one. And,
yep.
you know, there were some matches earlier on that we made some mistakes too. But overall, if you would have told me, hey, you're going to go into match number 14 and it's going to be this guy for you and this guy for them.
Yep.
And you're down by this many. Would you take that right now? And I'd have said any day, twice on Sunday, I'll take that deal.
Yeah.
And so I wish I could have that one over somehow, some way. Just being able to wrestle it over.
Yeah. Because it was fun. It was a good duel, stuff like that. So when you were talking about, as far as the weight and stuff like that, that goes kind of ties into rules. And you guys had your coaches conference recently. How was that? Did that go well? I guess Liam told me a little bit about it, but
yeah, it was. There were some really good clinicians, and
we
had Ben was there, and coach from Detroit Central Catholic was there, and
Mike Krause.
No, he's in Texas now.
Oh, is he? I didn't even pay attention to that.
He had been there, but it was their head coach was there, and then you had Robbie Smith.
Okay.
Teaching,
nice.
Being a Greco rep for the United States for all the years was there, and number of other people. So you get that. You get all the officials come in and do a lot of sessions with calls and rules revisions.
Liam said that was pretty interesting, the officials room, as far as how much was going on in there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't go in there. It's not something that we attend, but I do see a ton of officials in there. And so that's really good. That's been added probably, 10, 12 years ago, even longer. I don't know how long they've been doing it, but adding it to our clinic. So that was good.
So speaking of that, they obviously bring up the rule changes, right? Nothing really major, it seemed like, this year. Was it the uniform? I think it was uniform stuff really was rule changes.
I don't know. It's just like we just keep adding rules and we don't take a dumb one off the bottom. That's my number one complaint is, we just add some rules, but they've relaxed, hair rules, beard rules, facial hair and things like that. That's what it was, yeah. I know the reason for that, and it's, it's just, I
thought it was before it was just shave. I thought in high school you're supposed
shaven. I mean, they'll run the card and feel it, but now
pretty good.
As long as it's under these certain specifications, and so you can have long hair and you can have facial hair now, and 2022, and
Liam will shave.
Yeah,
I promise.
But it's.
So like me wrestling in high school when I was a kid, when I was younger, I was coached by Steve England. And that was good times. He was a good coach. I just was not a wrestler. It was one of those things. I stopped my junior year. I was focusing on soccer. But we were wrestling guys that had we were lucky if they could have a mustache, right? If they could, that's what they had. They had whatever they could. But that kind of scared guys.
Well, sure.
You walk up to you're a freshman, sophomore in high school. You're walking up to a guy with a mustache. I thought it was a guy from Berlin that I wrestled with a mustache. And I beat him because he had an asthma attack. That was probably one of the best wins I ever had in high school wrestling.
No, it shows some puberty and
right. It was a little scary.
It's definitely intimidating. The other one is a shoulder strap rule. I think we're meeting national regulation on that, on lowering the shoulder straps on the mat. It's just like completely.
That was already a rule, I thought, too.
But we weren't. There's national federation rules, and then there's your state that how they're going to. And some of them have to be followed for you to get voting at the national level, and then other ones it's up to the state. So it was one of those where, we weren't really enforcing it that much. Now we are, and it's just like it's going to cause some team a duel for a point. And, I was watching the Wisconsin Badgers play Nebraska yesterday, and we had one of our top linebackers got kicked out for targeting, and it was a questionable targeting. And I hate ejecting players for targeting. They've had that in now, and the way I look at it, if you look at all these targeting calls, they're mistakes.
Yeah.
They're not intentional. They're mistakes. It's a mistake. Like my helmet and your helmet, I'm making it like, am I going to, if I'm the best player on a team that needs to win to get in the bowl game, and I'm the best defender on the team, am I going to target one of your players intentionally to get kicked out of the game? I'm like, knowing that everything's with a camera, everything's, you're under a microscope. Like, am I really going to do that on purpose?
Right.
Knowing that I'm going to get kicked out if I do it. So no, it's a mistake, and a lot of it's it's just like, this is where, like, I went to make a tackle and they lowered their helmet and I'm going 100 miles an hour and they're going 100 miles an hour and boom. Happens. And then it's target and he gets kicked out. So now we tie the game in the final seconds on a quarterback sneak. And so, this defender who's a team leader, he's been told, you need to be, you need to be there for your team and support them and be a guy on the sideline. So then the Badgers score the game-winning quarterback sneak, and this player runs kind of a few steps out on the field. He doesn't have his helmet on because he's not playing.
Yep.
And so they flag him 15 yards for unsportsmanlike conduct, and then let's embarrass him and put him on camera. And then now he's got to walk into the locker room. So first he got tagged for targeting, which was an accident. And then he's doing his job as a cheerleader on the sideline, going out to Graham Mertz and congratulating him a few steps onto the field after he scores a touchdown. And the referee looks at him and goes, oh, he doesn't have his helmet on. He's on the field when play's not even in play, and throws a flag. So now he's kicked out. And so you have that humility. And it's just like rule. And you have these unintended consequences, like those are the rules.
Yeah.
Those are the rules. And it's like, really, this is the reason you have the rule in.
They want robots.
I
sounds like they want robots.
And then so now
around.
we got the shoulder strap rule, and you've got the, just.
And so I got the slide for it just to kind of see what rule, because obviously now going into the season, I want to know what I'm talking about, because there are times where I get a little excited about something when I'm watching a duel, whether it's Kauakuna's duel or if it's, Appleton West's duel. Yeah. You're just watching, you get excited about something. So I got the new rule, I got the slides and checked it out. And I know that refs are having a hard time. It's not that I've ever just completely laid into a ref ever when I was coaching a team or something like that. But looking at the rule book now and seeing it, it's like, there's a lot of mistakes. But so much of it is left to perception of where where he's at the time, and granted where you're at the time, just seeing what you see at some point. And I feel bad for the refs. I do. I mean, I watch some of the duels that we've gone to where it's not just a coach, the parents are just, they're in their face. And I understand people get upset, but at some point it's like, well, you gotta have some humility, let the guy make a decision, and give him a little space. But with the changes, do you find that there are a lot of things that even if it's changed, that sometimes people just kind of brush it off no matter what, as far as a rule goes? If it's just so simple, it's like, the strap thing, bringing it down, the guys, because you're just talking about one ref was watching the guy put his foot on the field, didn't have his helmet on. Do you see a lot of refs in wrestling making calls like that when he's taking his straps down because he still had one toe on the mat, still had one toe in that circle, but he's taking his strap down? I don't see us. I mean, I think I see wrestling having some missed calls, some mistakes and stuff, but it seems like things that are on a larger scale seem to get a little more flagrant than, you know what I'm saying, being watched and performing and things like that. Because those refs, I mean, they get paid for performance, So I mean, at some point you got to think that maybe it's on their end that they're targeting. Kind of maybe that ref doesn't like Wisconsin a little too much, or maybe this ref doesn't like Appleton West too much, kind of thing, but. I think with the rules, I think a lot of times like you said, you should be trimming fat off.
Yeah, there's some that
take it off the bottom.
Don't really apply. Like for the strap rule, it's always been a rule on our team.
Yeah.
Now, again, I don't rule with an iron fist, but I always tell kids, keep your straps up.
Yep.
And you've got a rapport and you got a reputation, and kids respect you, and they're like, oh, hey, keep your straps up until you get out of the gym.
I agree.
Keep them up, and and I always just say it looks stupid. It looks dumb.
It does.
Well, it's middle school.
Yep.
Not to bash middle school kids or our program, but like
right.
A lot of times you just won't see if you're not comfortable in your skin as a wrestler, you want to get the singlet off. I just see that a lot of times. It's like, oh, I got to get these straps down because I really don't like this singlet on. I still like, guys, I'll sleep in my singlet. I'll wear my singlet to school. I'll wear it out shopping, like Shane Sparks did the commercials back in the day, wearing the singlet, getting a haircut and going shopping in the food market. It was funny because it's like, I'm a wrestler. I wear my singlet and I'm not, it's the required uniform.
Yeah.
To quote the Breakfast Club. And it's like, just keep the singlet on. And I know, the soccer player ripped their jersey off.
Yeah.
You see baseball players rip them off. People do that, but it's like, just keep the straps up. So we've always said that. We've always said that.
Yeah.
So I don't need, somebody now. I don't need somebody now penalizing one of my freshmen that goes out there and makes a mistake and loses a tough match, and then he goes back into middle school mode, and he pulls the straps down as he's walking off the mat, and it's a team point or whatever it is. I don't know, but it's like, why are we even addressing this right now? It just come up and say, hey, tell your kid to keep his straps up, and I'll go, I do, but he's emotional right now. But it doesn't have to be, something. I don't see every team taking their straps down on the mat and then standing out there with it down to their waist and showing their underwear. Like, I don't see that as a problem, but
I was the same way. I mean, it was a respect thing, just to, when you're coming off the mat, keep them up. I think it's the equivalent to a guy breaking a bat over his knee. It's not needed.
Yeah.
What are you showing? Kind of thing. It's just wait till you're done. Put your sweatshirt on.
I wish I could break a bat over my knee.
That'd be great.
It'd be awesome.
Like and not break my leg.
Yeah. When Bo Jackson did it, I don't even think Bo Jackson put it over his knee. I think he just broke it in his hands.
Probably did. Just right there.
That is awesome. We created legend. It's like no big deal.
Midair, kind of break.
Now he's got to buy a new bat, dummy. So who cares? It's his bat. He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, exactly. So with the rule changes like weights, there's been a lot of controversy about weights. Pennsylvania went through it recently. I guess to me, I don't think 14's bad right now. I don't think it's bad as far as what we have. Is there a benefit to upper going more? Is there a benefit? What are really to you are the pros and cons of having extra or less?
Well, they'll never. I didn't say never, but they'll never be more because we're not smart enough to do that.
Okay. Yep.
We just want to, in some weird way. I was talking to somebody the other day.
Mm-hmm.
It was a basketball supporter, let's put it that way. That is a kind of a board member in our basketball club, and he was in at practice the other day, and he was asking about weight. We were talking about weight class, and I said, "Can you imagine if tracks had got our numbers in track are way down, and so we should just get instead of having the triple jump and the long jump, let's get rid of the triple jump. Instead of the high jump and pole vault, let's just have the high jump. Pole vault's too expensive anyway. Not enough kids training it. We don't have enough coaching. Yeah, why have a 100, 200, 400?" 800. Let's just have a 100 and a 400. Get rid of the 200. Get rid of the 800. Go 100, 400, 1600. That's enough. You're sprinter, you're longer, you're one lap around. And that's like, why do we have to have all these races? And then we need more kids for relays. And why do we have this? We can't fill all these events in our track team. Let's cut them. And I don't think that ever gets talked about into the track circles. Like, they want more opportunities. They want more medals at the state tournament. And we, so we're going to eliminate, if we would go to 12 weight classes, so now, that's 2 weight classes per division. So that's 32 less kids in Division 1 and 24 in Division 2. That's 48 and 32. So that's like 70 less kids at the state tournament, whatever. Yeah. 70 less kids. Yep. And now you've got 36 less medals coming home every year from the state tournament. I'm throwing quick numbers.
Yeah. No,
it's 12 weight. It's 12 weight classes.
Yep.
It's 2 weight classes. So 6 and 6 in Division 1. That's 12 times 3 divisions. So that's 36 less medals. So some of those medals are going to communities that haven't had a medalist in 10 years or a decade. And they're trying to revive their program. And they're still in, I don't know if there's a local newspaper, but a newsletter and in the school. And then there's a little welcome back and a fire engine ride. And so those 36 medals aren't all going to Kauakuna and Amory, and Luxembourg, Casco, or Coleman. They got enough medals. They don't need more. Well, it's not about that. It's about, if we're going to grow wrestling, let's get them to those places that once had a proud tradition, but it dried up a little bit. And now they're trying to get it back going, and people want to see a wrestler come home with a medal. And of course, and so. And to say that it's watered down, it's too watered down. I don't go tell that to any of our medalists this year that, you really didn't deserve that 6th place medal, but you're not very good.
Yeah, right.
All these kids are wrestling a ton. They're wrestling a lot. Yep. They're doing
sacrifice
a lot of off season. Yep. And there's no cheap medals at the state tournament. There's a lot of kids that are deserving of a medal and aren't able to reach it. And again, we have the weight class, And I think a lot of the people that are making the decisions, we're older now. So, what's the difference between, 170 and 160,
Yeah.
it's called 10 pounds, okay?
It matters.
Watch a college kid move from 133 to 141. And
check that out.
It can be Sebastian Rivera going up and wrestling some guy at 141 and just getting drilled. And he's maybe one of the best because I've seen that. And it's like, no, there's a reason college kids don't bump around because they don't get moved up for a duel to win a duel.
Yeah,
because their best kid's going to get crunched at the next weight, even though the kid up above there's got a 500 record. Like, it is a big deal.
Yeah,
and I think we forget about what that was like when you're in high school bumping up a weight. You need those weight classes at 6 pounds through the middle, 5 pounds, 6 pounds apart because that's a big deal over 6 minutes. And
it is.
I don't know, it bothers me. It
Yeah.
bothers me that we even have this attitude that, we had better wrestling back in the day when we only had 12 weights and this and that. And
I disagree.
we had way more wrestlers. Well, yeah, you did, but you didn't have a soccer team and you didn't have a golf team and you didn't have 80 kids out for football. And you had, more farm kids that were avoiding having to go do chores. So they came out for wrestling.
It's like they don't even understand that athletics in general has evolved. The amount of different sports. Like, you listen to the kids that, you hear your basic football, baseball, kind of, I'm a 2-sport kid. You hear those. But there are the kids that are in like lacrosse, and there are the kids that are doing, all kinds of different sports now.
And our good kids, back in the 70s, 80s, when we went to 3 divisions, and everything was still really tough. The good kids, they could be the quarterback of the football team. And now it just seems like it's our top kids are really, really elite.
Yeah.
Keegan O'Toole, going to being a world champion, and Mitchell Messenbrink going and being a world, medalist, and even our guys going out and doing that kind of stuff. That wasn't around back then. They were running track in the spring and fall. So our good kids are really, really good. So no, if we only have 75 or 8,000 kids wrestling in Wisconsin, and that's down from 12,000 back in the day. Yeah, but these 8,000,
the quality.
Oh God, the champs, the runner-ups, the thirds, they are really, really invested in the sport, and they're really, really good. It
really sounds like a dollar sign issue is really what it sounds like. It's not even considering the level of athletics that you have in the state. And it's just not wrestling.
Yeah. Well, it's not a WIAA issue. Like, people want to blame, it's not theirs. They want to, the number one thing with the WIAA is filling that cool center.
Sure, yeah.
So now we got the girls in there, and if we can put it,
that's
it
awesome.
Seats 1,800, and we've only been getting 1,500. We want to pack the place up. So if you take 2 weight classes out, across 3 divisions, now, that changes things. So if it makes more money and it puts more people in the seat, they're all about it. And I think it comes more it's coming more from coaches that are having problems getting kids out for wrestling. And I can sympathize with that. It's like, Kauakuna, you always had a lot of kids out for wrestling. You have no idea that how it's just, it's not
like
easy.
that.
No,
Yeah.
it's not. It's, and we have kids out right now, but it's, you have to sell it in your school and your community, and every program goes through that. It's the same tough sport over there that it is here. And the making the weight and the long season and running over the holidays. So you're all dealing with the same things, but I think it's more from the coaches wanting to cut the weights, because if we can eliminate a couple of weight classes, it makes our team more competitive.
Sure. Okay. Well, that makes sense. I mean, it makes sense to a certain extent.
It does, but I would argue if you have 10 weight classes, let's say you have 14 weight classes and you're forfeiting 4 of them.
Yep.
So you can only fill 10. So it's like, God, if we had 10 weight classes, we'd be great. But after a few years of 10 weight classes, you'd only be filling 7 or 6 of them. You'd only be filling 7 or 6 of them. And now your numbers, instead of 8,000 kids in the state coming out, we only have 6,000 kids. So now what do we do?
Because you're restricting.
Cut it down to 8 weight classes. Like, when does the madness end?
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, and that's, like I said, even like right now, I've known 14 forever. As far as the guys, I didn't really see an issue with it. I know they talked about it over in Pennsylvania and the stuff that they had going on over there, but listening to the reasoning that they had, and like I said, demographics play a lot into it. So it could be a numbers thing, but with here, it just seems like I think we need to be good at what we're doing first right now. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot lot of people not liking certain things, and you're going to have that everywhere, but it is kind of a consensus as far as some of the gripes and things that people don't like, which is what it is. But so with that being said, I mean, at the end of the day, do you find that your off season, the kids that you have in the off season, and then do you find a struggle with weight at all coming in? Do you find that the kids, I don't know what I'm going to do kind of thing? Or do you know that the guys that you have wrestling on your team are possibly going to be coming into the room, have a good balance of what they do, and you don't have to worry too much about, because like you said, you're not worried about nutrition and all that other stuff, but so obviously there's a lot of trust that you put into your athletes.
Well, and it's, it's easy for me to say, just train, get good at wrestling, lift weights, be healthy, play another sport if you want. And we're always here for you to train you, and don't worry about it. And you come into the season, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And it's easy for me to say, but it's not easy for them to absorb. They're still going to worry about, where am I going to be? Where am I? Where do you see me fitting in? And, you got to be careful asking me, because if you ask me that question, I'm going to tell you, and you might want to hear the answer, and I don't need to stress you out on that.
Right.
And so
I hear you.
Sometimes it's just better off not to get involved in those discussions in July, but
sure.
You do have to, you do have to look at how you're growing and where you were, in October of the previous season, now in, April of the next spring, and then now it's July, and what is that looking like? And then so you can project where you might be in November when the season starts, and have you not grown? And you look at your parents, and you look at how they grew, and everything kind of gets factored in. And some kids, they just shoot right up, and it's tough. That's again, other sports, you don't have to worry about that, and we're probably the only one where some kids are, oh, dang it, I grew too much.
Right, yeah.
And I'll tell you this, as a short guy, I wish I would have grown, 4 more inches my sophomore, junior year. Sure would have been nice, because at the time you're thinking, well, this is a weight class I'm going to be, and I just want to move up one weight. But skills travel, the skills. If you're a state champion, Alex Derringer proved that, and David Taylor proved that, being 106-pound shredders, and now being the best in the country and the best in the world.
The biggest.
Skills travel. And we, so we don't worry. We shouldn't have, we shouldn't worry, but kids in the off season are looking at where am I going to fit in? And the simple answer is like, why are we worrying about this in July? Let's get back into school, and let's see what you're doing and where things are going. Because again, strength takes a long time. Skills take a long time. Trimming off fat and getting in condition takes, I can do that in
a week or
we can do that, and we can be where we need to be. So we always say, be where your feet are, and you have to put that into practice. And in July, that's what you should be focusing on.
So once at the let's say halfway through the season or anything like that, I mean, do you find that any type of, like, you guys are in a good roll, things like that, obviously you don't want to change a whole lot. You got superstitions? Do you have superstitions that you guys kind of?
No, kids have them, but I don't.
Do they? You don't?
Maybe like if
socks,
Chris or Bob or somebody was here, they'd say, like Jeremy probably would be able to just start rattling off, superstitions we have. What are you talking about, Matczak? We do this, and that, but
you don't have any?
Yeah, Steve McDaniel. Like, there's probably, and it's not I wouldn't even call it a superstition. I would just be, dang it, like, be a superstition. Last year it was like,
close the doors a certain way or something. Or
there's just things that we do that I'm not going to mess this up. Like I'm going to be the last guy on the bus. I'm going to be the last guy through the handshake line. I'm going to this is the way it's going to be. We're on a roll. Like, cool. Little things like that. But I wouldn't say superstitions. You just don't want to mess anything up.
Yeah.
And the kids, though, all the superstitions with the singlets they're going to wear and the socks, and everybody's got those.
Yeah.
And you start learning about them, and you have fun.
Yeah. Well, I know I'm excited for the season coming up. I know as far just Wisconsin wrestling in general. I mean, a lot of kids on a lot of teams now, and I think Teague and those guys covered that a little bit too. It's just it's unreal the amount of talent that's in the state now, which makes it even more fun come state time. It makes that event even more electric for people to come to and get the butts in the seats, because these kids are worth it. A lot of them work their butts off, and I think that's the coolest part of it. And seeing some of these guys since they were 5 come up, and you've seen a lot of these guys come through. I mean, 32 years, you said.
Yeah, and it's the big thing has been the clubs. That was probably the difference.
Sure.
20 years ago when the Askrens were in college and Crasses were still, they hadn't started their club, and you had some things. Ringers was around. I think Ben came through Ringers, so
he did. That's where he started. Yep.
He was doing that, but most things were being done by high school coaches. We had our Kangaroo Club, and Scott Anderson had Northern Exposure. And
how long's Kangaroo been around?
It's really what it evolved from was the 1990s, early 2000s.
Okay.
Wisconsin regional training centers where the WWF would pay college kids to go to local high schools around the state. So we had Lawrence University, where that program's not even around anymore.
Right.
We had 3 or 4 of those kids, and then it became Oshkosh kids.
Okay. Yeah.
We had. And they would come to our school. We said, "Yeah, we'll host one of them." And it was Seymour before us.
Yeah,
was hosting one, but there were 4 or 5 of them, 6 of them around the state, and then those kind of dissolved. And people are like, "Well, where are we going to go?" Well, we'll still run it. We'll call it this. And Scott got involved.
Cleaver's baby.
Yeah, he kept coaching it, and was our middle school coach, and then. He worked, obviously with the Wisconsin Wrestling Federation back in the 90s. He was a cadet director back then.
Okay, yeah.
Took a break from that when the kids were born and this and that. And then he then got back involved 10 years ago or so.
I can't remember because I was in Mat Rats when I was a kid. It was me and J.R. Zemke. He actually was the former coach of Oshkosh North. He was one of my wrestling partners back in the day when I was a kid coming up. And literally when my brother and those guys, they were 7 years older than I was. So I was just a little guy, but they would go to Iowa for one tournament. That was all we knew. We didn't have the journeyman classics and the super 32s. And so it was rough. We wrestled in the attic. We had a mat up in the attic because my brother was always cutting weight. If you wasn't the best way, but it was either throwing up or wearing a rubber suit for 4 hours while you're practicing and then you're dead at the end kind of thing. Obviously they don't like to hear about that stuff anymore, but that's just what you did back in the day, but we didn't have these opportunities. And like you said, now it's because, with the clubs being around and talking to Jamie Nelson a little bit as far as, in the past, as far as how now having coaches that are former college wrestlers and things like that. I mean, obviously you have guys on your staff that came through your program, also did compete in college, but at the same time though too, they're bringing all of that knowledge back. That's got to be a lot more comforting for you come time when you're like, I got to go.
Yeah.
That's got to feel at least somewhat comforting knowing that you have someone to put it into, put it into their hands and hand something off. But whenever that's going to be, you're going to do this till you're 95, right?
Yeah. Well, I think I look at that guy from, Fondy Springs, the football coach.
Yeah. Yep.
And I look at that guy and it's 50 years, and I'm on 32.
Yep.
And he's 50. And then we can go back and look at like Louis Bennett's was a long time.
Yep.
There were some other people in wrestling that did it a long time. And I just don't see that. I think that's done. I think 10 years is a long time to coach. I'm watching all these basketball coaches over the last 10 years. They're 40 years old.
Yeah.
Their kids are getting into middle school, or they're not even, maybe maybe they're in their third. People are getting married later, having kids later.
Yep.
And as soon as they have kids in their, mid to late 30s, they're starting to, they're getting them involved in things younger.
Yep.
And everybody wants to get them involved in a million things. And mom and dads are working. And so it's just, oh God, it's impossible.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be really difficult if people that coach for, 20, 30, 40. Yeah, there'll be, but not like there is now, or there was in the past. It's just, it's too hard. And then, people want to say, it's just too hard. It's the, people, parents and the rules and the social media, whatever. They have all these excuses. Well, I'll tell you what, this isn't coaching these kids isn't really any different because you have to be able to adapt, and we've changed too. So I'm different than I was like I've said, my philosophy's changed too. So kids are kids. You have to find where I'm different. Like I'm this way being 50s and they're this way being 13, 14, 15.
Yeah.
But there's their circle and my circle. They intersect somewhere. There's a way, and where we intersect is where we have to communicate on a human level. Like that's where we got to find it. And then, but there's a lot that's different, but we're going to be connected some way. So you have to find a way to connect and communicate, and that's where you make your hay.
Yep.
And I've always been able to do that, and that's where you live, and it's not a lot different. Of course, when you're 24 years old and you're a head coach of a program, you have 17 and 18-year-old kids on a team.
Yeah.
Of course, you're going to be like
you're going to live forever.
And you're going to have more in common with them and things of that nature. But I really looked up to when I was a young coach. I was in high school. I looked up to the older coaches, like those
for
guys
sure.
were the guys that like, wow, Larry Marchionda, my head coach, and Keith Sweat, and all these guys that had been around a long time.
Mm-hmm. My first exposure to like my favorite coach, and he wasn't even just a coach. He was our shop teacher. Probably one of the best lesson teachers that I ever ran across, as far as a coach that coached me, kind of gave you a different outlook on things and how simple things really are, amongst all the complicated garbage that's on the outside that overcomplicates things. He kind of taught you how to zero in and not be all over the place. Don't be concerned with this. Don't be concerned with that, because it has nothing to do with this. You're right here. And Mr. Beaster, tough dude too. If you touched his head, kid got a little smart. He patted on his head, told him, what was it? Happy Easter, Beaster Bunny. Tapped his head. Absolutely not. And you can't do that anymore. You can't do what this guy just did. Grabbed him by the hand and he pulled him down to the principal's office. Yeah. I thought that was the coolest thing on the planet. But I also knew that now I knew what not to do. Yeah. Again, focused. He was there to do a job, and because he was in shop. He was teaching kids how to use dangerous tools. He didn't want things going awry in his classroom. And I think, as far as being a coach, that was a guy that I really kind of took something from. Like, you have a job to do. You have something. What was the theme last year? What was the theme that you guys had on those shirts? What was it?
Your street sweeping.
Yes, correct. And I thought that played a lot into that. So you have a job to do. Go and do it.
It's something how,
get it done.
How those, what we called industrial arts teachers back in the day.
Yes.
Like, I always talk about, I'll never forget being a freshman in John Mahalko's metals. It was a metals class.
Yeah.
We had the woods classes and electrics and automotive. And every 6 weeks or so, we would rotate around as freshmen. And John Mahalko, and it was "School is your job," and he had a big metal sign, sheet metal sign with letters printed on it in Boston. Yeah. He came in and he smacked it with a rod, and "School is your job," and and he said it like 3 times, and we're all like, all right, we got it. School. I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
Those guys, they had an impact on a generation, and unfortunately, those types of classes it's a lot of electronics, and it's.
I agree.
Silicon Valley, and it's different. It's different, like
3D printing now, and all kinds of technology.
It's different working from home, and we have a lot of things, that were a huge advantage for us in our development that, aren't emphasized anymore.
I don't want to keep you here too long. It's one other thing that it ticked in my brain that you mentioned before with how the sport's changed and growing it. Number one, I think growing is the proper term. Someone told me that. Growing sounded ridiculous, as far as like, well, it is growing. You are trying to grow something. It's already birthed. So what do you do with something after it's birthed? You grow it. You grow numbers. You grow fans and stuff like that. So with that philosophy, though, can the sport evolve more? Is there more evolution that it could do as far as the sport itself, wrestling? Can it evolve more than it already has? Other than just gaining the attention, so more people watch, you get more kids interested, but can you evolve this sport any more than what it is?
It's the oldest sport.
It is.
And if you watch animals in nature,
if
you watch little infants when they can start to walk and they have a sibling, if you watch it, a 5-year-old with a 2-year-old, what are they doing? They're wrestling.
Yeah.
If you get 2 puppies,
right?
What are they doing? They're playing.
Primal.
It's primal. It's instinctual. It's all of that, and it's like that is in our DNA.
Yeah.
And I'm not worried. I'm worried about I remember in the 90s, my athletic director coming and saying when, in the 80s with Magic Johnson and HIV and, there was something like that. And I had a flashback, to that time, so now everything's gloves and we've adapted to that. But I remember at the time saying, wow, this could just kill these contact sports and really wouldn't be able to blood.
Yeah.
And then I had that flashback during COVID. It's like, okay. And it's things like that. But you're not going to disconnect humans,
right.
entirely. You're not going to, I guess, if it ever gets to that point, or wrestling not being a thing anymore, our problems are way bigger than that. Like me and you are not going to, I won't be probably around then, but you're not going to go, oh, darn it, and wrestling's done. No, it's because some shit went down.
Yeah,
and things aren't good. I think as long as
well, they almost took it out of the Olympics, for God's sakes. They're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
That's where it originated. The Olympics came from that. Right now, there are still tribes in Africa that use Greco-Roman wrestling form to decide who runs the village.
If it let's say it wouldn't have survived that. I just got to go back and really think about if we wouldn't have survived that and it wasn't an Olympic sport, we're going to have squash and poker and gaming and whatever else in its place, then I think high school wrestling, we still would be good. Like right now, I don't know if we did it, and maybe I don't want to say I ever would have wanted that, because that was all I aimed to aspire at, was the Olympians and meeting them and seeing them and watching them. And again, the Olympics didn't have all these other sports, so it was easier to get caught up in that. But I just think something would take that void and it'd be high school wrestling, and I think it would go. I think high school wrestling's its own entity, and collegiate wrestling in America, it's like baseball is to America. And I know you're a soccer guy.
I see you. Yep.
But folk style wrestling's an American thing, and
it is.
We have tackle football and we have baseball and we have folk style wrestling.
I suppose
we
you
do in
just
America.
Figure out the way just to keep that around and fight for it. Yeah, no, I can see that too. I can see that. Well, then on that note, I will definitely make it the end here for you. It's been an hour, man. I appreciate you coming in.
It's fun.
Are you gonna maybe stop by some more?
I can do. How about a cheesehead?
Let's talk cheesehead.
Mid-season.
All right. Well, I appreciate everybody listening. Again, this is Coach Matczak with me, Kauakuna High School wrestling coach. This is Brad from obviously the Vision Quest podcast, right? So I appreciate everybody listening. We'll talk to you later.
All of our episodes are brought to you by Appleton Tattoo, located at 117 South Appleton Street in Appleton, Wisconsin, right off the main drag on College Avenue. You can't miss them. I've had some work done. I have a Celtic cross that covers my back that was done by Jason. We're not done yet. Jason Winans and crew, the artists that he have there, those guys are the best in the Fox Valley. They are definitely one to go to if it's something that you've just been kind of throwing around. They'll make you feel comfortable. It's a very clean environment, very nice crew, and very willing to get done whatever you need done when you need it done. You can message them on Facebook. I know they're on Facebook. You can give them a call at 920-604-8289 and get in touch with Jason Winans and crew at Appleton Tattoo, located again in Appleton, Wisconsin at 117 South Appleton Street, right in Appleton. Very flexible hours, great crew, clean environment again. I would not send you anywhere else except for these guys. Appleton Tattoo.